I will be talking today about navigating the stress through the pandemic using healthy coping skills. The pandemic has been ongoing, and since it started, the cumulative effect of the stress can be felt in every aspect of our life, such that stress has become a part of our lives. Many people have expressed feeling sad, depressed. Some people have expressed feeling uncertain about the future. They've expressed feeling fearful, anxious. There are other people who've complained of not being able to concentrate or do their jobs as well as they were able to do in the past. And some others have complained of feeling hopelessness and even having suicidal thoughts. Such is the impact, the psychological impact of the pandemic in our lives. And thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to talk about de-stressing in these difficult times. But before we go on, we need to understand how our body reacts to stress. Whenever there is a stress, which can be in a form of a physical stress or a psychological stress, our body gives out stress hormones. These stress hormones help us fight the threats. And once the threat is removed, the hormone levels come back to their normal state. But in our case, since the stress has been ongoing and probably will be ongoing for the next, I don't know how many, several weeks, months, our body is constantly pumping out the stress hormones to the point that we have excessive stress hormones in our body. These excessive stress hormones are causing inflammation in every part of our body. There is no part of our body that has left untouched by these stress hormones. And we are seeing what people are reporting. There are a lot of people that have complained about new allergic reactions. There are people who've talked about their pre-existing allergies getting worse. And there is truth to it because the immune system has been compromised. There are people who've gone to doctors with unexplained headaches, stomach aches, difficulty sleeping, eating, even hair loss, different kinds of rashes, and you name a symptom, and there is a basis to it. It may seem physical, but the basis is psychological. Even dentists have spoken about increase in patients reporting teeth grinding, pain in the jaw, sometimes even fracture of the jawbone. All these may seem physical, but they have a deep-rooted psychological reason behind it. And all this stems from the psychological stress that the pandemic is causing. It is true when people say that they're not able to concentrate or they're not able to deliver as well as they were able to do it prior to the pandemic. It's because a part of our brain, which is called the hippocampus, has shrunk because of the pandemic stress. Because of the shrinkage, it has compromised our ability to learn, to memorize, and to pay attention. So there is truth to every symptom that people are reporting. And that is why it is very important for us to address the psychological stress. And unless we address the psychological stress, there will be no complete resolution of the physical aspect of these symptoms that people are presenting. The good news is that our brain is very plastic. If it responds to the negative, stressful aspects of the pandemic, it also responds very robustly to positive aspects of alleviating the stress. And that is why I'm here today to talk about healthy coping skills. Coping skills will help us move on, distract us, and keep us moving forward even during these stressful times. And I have mentioned that these coping skills are healthy, and it is very important to make a note of that. Today, as we are in the midst of the pandemic, each one of us has experienced stress in some form or the other. We recognize that none of us are immune to any psychological stresses. So today, it is a time for us to revisit mental health, to revisit mental wellness, and to do away with all the taboo that has surrounded mental health for many years. The superlatives that we have used for mental health, crazy, weird, it's time to let go of that because now we understand mental health, mental wellness much better because we have experienced it. And mental health is taking care of our mental wellness. So how do we define mental wellness? So mental wellness is our ability to feel, to learn, to express, to manage a wide range of emotions, positive emotions, negative emotions. It is our ability to have a good, positive relationship with ourselves. It is our ability to have good, nurturing, long lasting relationships with those outside of us. So, with this new definition of mental wellness, which is so broad, mental health is not just about ourselves. It is about how we impact the environment, how we impact the people around us. So, it is time that we look at our mental health because it is not just about us. We are not in a bubble. We are impacting everybody that is around us. So, when we take charge of our mental health, we are taking charge of people around us. We are taking charge of the wellness of people all around us. If we look back on our personal lives, we will notice that there have been many, many difficult times when we had thought maybe things may not change, but we moved on and we are here today. If we look behind us and we see the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the different calamities that we've had, we've been able to move on. Why? Because we have an inborn ability within us, which is called resilience. It helps us to bounce back in the face of adversity. So, what makes this pandemic so different from everything else? We have that ability. We are resilient by nature. So, we will bounce back from this uncertainty too. But in order to be resilient, we have to nurture our resilience. And how can we do that? By taking good care of ourselves. It seems very mundane, and we talk about it every single day. Sleep is very important. Having a sleep-wake cycle, which is on schedule, even during stressful times, is very important because sleep is rejuvenating. Sleep is restorative. And with restoration and sleep, good sleep, we feel rested and we are able to function better. Have you realized the days when you don't sleep well, the next day is just not what you wanted? So it is important, no matter how stressed we have to maintain our sleep wake cycle. We have to have time before our sleep cycle where we can unwind, we can let go of things, and we can fall asleep and be comfortable for the rest of the night. Also, we talk about nutrition. And this also sounds very mundane, but in order to be resilient, in order to be able to face adversity, whether it is physical or psychological, we have to have good nourishment. So eating regular healthy meals is extremely important. The gyms are closed these days, but that should not be an excuse to not exercise. Exercise can be as simple as just doing household chores, maybe just doing some gardening, or maybe walking around the block, or maybe jogging. Or something as simple as putting a YouTube video and exercising in your living room. Because we all know that exercise has positive effects on us. Exercising helps release endorphins, and the endorphins help in upliftment of our mood. And that is what we need right now. So please, if you have become static because of the pandemic, it's time to start moving. In whichever possible way, try to make that happen, and you will find a positive change. We often talk and we have different thoughts in our mind, and we cannot undermine the power of our thoughts. The way we think is the way we feel, and that's the way we interact with people about us. So it is very important to have positive thoughts so we can have positive feelings and we can interact positively with environment and people around us. Positive thinking does not mean that we have to be in denial of the current situation. Instead, it means that we are ready to face the challenges and we are looking at healthy problem solving skills instead of getting overwhelmed with fear, anxiety, and hopelessness. So during the pandemic, we've heard people say things like, "This is a very terrible time." Instead, if it can be reframed and said in a way that can be more optimistic and more positive, like, "This is a difficult time, but we will get through this." Or something as simple as, "We shall get through this too," or "This too shall pass." These sentences, these words are very optimistic and they give hope. They give a sense of calmness. And with that, Those are the feelings that we feel. And when we feel in control, we feel in calm, we are able to give actions outside of us in the same manner. But this is not to say that we can go out and do whatever we want and say that COVID is not going to affect us. Instead, we have to take responsibility. We have to follow the safety guidelines and make a positive affirmation saying that I can keep myself safe, I can keep my community safe by following the practice guidelines. And if we all do what we are supposed to do, we will get through this. And we have had incidences from the past where we have moved from different calamities, one after the other. And what makes this pandemic different? If we all practice what we have to do, we will definitely make it. And these are the positive thoughts that we need to be thinking about. In stressful times, it is very easy to get into a negative mode of thinking. We have to recognize our thoughts. That is the first step. And once we recognize our thoughts, we have to reframe them in a way that they can be positive. Because only then can we feel positive and work positively. Otherwise, we will be stuck in a negative world around us. Having talked about the positive thoughts, people have been home and, children haven't been going to school. So life is very slow. People do things when they want to do. They've lost their sense of routine. Routine is extremely important in stressful times. Routine is an activity that is repeated over and over again, as a result of which it becomes a part of a memory. When something is repeated over and over again, it becomes predictable. And anything that is predictable brings calmness to us. It takes away the anxiety-provoking thoughts. So it is important that we do maintain a routine. Just because we are home and we have the whole day to ourselves does not mean that we can delay things. We have to have a routine. If not for 7 days a week, maybe few days a week. And when we have a routine, we know that the chores are lined up and we are able to accomplish our chores. And when we finish what we have decided to do in that day, we have a sense of accomplishment, which is very important, especially in these stressful times where everything seems so bleak and so dark. So even though people are at home and they feel like they have the whole day to themselves, I would urge everybody to please have some kind of a routine. The routine can be flexible. The routine can be modified, but it has to be in a way so that you can get through your day-to-day activities every day without being anxious, without being overwhelmed. During these pandemic times, people have often talked about being very lonely, being depressed. So making contact with people around us is very important. And it has never been so easy to be in contact with people as it is in these times. If we cannot see people physically, we can talk to them virtually. We can hear them on the phone. And people have been able to attend different occasions, graduations, birthdays, weddings, virtually. And despite all the odds, we are able to contact each other. So it is important that we stay in touch with each other. And when we stay in touch with each other, it is okay to talk about our vulnerable side with the other loved ones. Not just for ourselves, but also for the other person. Because when we talk about how we feel, how vulnerable we are, it will start a conversation. And your loved one will also talk. And this way, both of you can be supportive of each other. So it is okay to talk. And it is okay to let your guards down. And it is okay to share how you feel. Because everybody understands that this is a stressful situation. And like I said, it is time to understand the new definition of mental wellness. It should not be that we are talking about mental health in hushed tones. It's time that we talk about it because we recognize it. We understand how we're feeling because everybody around us is feeling the same way. So this is no longer a shame to say that I'm feeling a certain way. In fact, recognizing it and then acknowledging it and using ways to overcome that is the need of the day today. And that is what I'm urging every single person in the community to do. When we talk about Hobbies. We always talk about them in past tense. When I was in school, I used to sing. When I was in college, I used to read. And then what happened? Life moved on, and it moved on, and it became so busy that we forgot about our hobbies. And hobbies are activities that we enjoy. So, this is the time. This is the time when there is a need to revisit our hobbies, no matter what they are. Whether it was singing, whether it was dancing, you name it. It is time to go back to your hobbies, because hobbies are joyful activities. When we indulge in activities that provide joy to us, we are in a state of meditation. So, why do we need to find a quiet corner in our house to sit and meditate when we can go back to our hobbies and get engrossed in them and be in the same meditative state? When we enjoy doing something that we really like, our focus, our attention, our concentration improves. And that is one of the struggles that we are facing at this time. When we do activities that we enjoy, we let go of all the anxiety. We feel very calm. The brain then perceives it as a good medium, and the brain then produces good feeling hormones like the dopamine and the opioids, which further enhance our moods. Not only that, hobbies help people connect together. These days, it is so much more easier to connect with people anywhere around the world. When like-minded people, when people that practice same hobbies come together, they encourage each other, they work together. And that gives a sense of cohesiveness, a sense of belonging, a sense of community. And that is what we need at this time. So please, do not let your hobbies be in the past tense. Make them present. Practice them. There is a lot that your hobbies can offer you. And your hobbies can be anything that you enjoy. So I really urge you to please get back to your hobbies. If you didn't have any, which is difficult to believe, then I would want you to please see something that you enjoy, because there is a lot that your enjoyable activities can give you in these present times. Many people have spiritual beliefs. So if people have spiritual beliefs, it is all right to practice them in these times, because spirituality to many people is a coping skill. When I have talked about these few coping skills, I have talked about healthy coping skills. During stressful times, we are constantly looking for shortcuts and quick fixes. So people want to get rid of the stress at the flick of the finger. And then they resort to using drugs, alcohol. But before they realize, the drugs and alcohol have played a havoc on their moods, because these are mood-altering substances. So instead of fixing the problem, they have created more problems. And in stressful times, if we go down a negative path, we forget that the consumption has increased. So increased consumption of drugs and alcohol in stressful times is a big problem in itself. So we need to recognize what our stressors are, and we have to acknowledge them and choose ways to deal with them in a healthy way, rather than in an unhealthy way where we are creating more problems, not just for ourselves, but for people around us. Also, certain people overeat, they sleep, they get angry, they blame. These are all negative coping skills. And to be in a good space, even in stressful times, we have to learn different coping skills so that we can use them as distractions. Today, in the pandemic, we are all under stress. The magnitude of the stress may vary from one person to the other. The expression of the stress may vary when we describe our stresses, but we all need help. Today, I want to share with you that I am a volunteer with a non-profit organization called SAMHIN. It is a short form of South Asian Mental Initiative and Network. This is a non-profit organization that works for people that are from South Asian countries. And I'm proud to say that we provide a free, comprehensive psychiatric evaluation for everyone that calls us with their mental health problems. These comprehensive psychiatric evaluations are done by psychiatrists that are experts in their fields. This evaluation is done confidentially, and I'm proud to say that we have been able to help many people from South Asian countries throughout USA, not just New Jersey. We get calls from every corner of USA. We help people understand about their mental health. We educate them about their mental health. We empower them to take control of their mental health. And then we uh, uh, get them in touch with different providers in their communities. It is important to note that we do not provide treatment at Samhem. If you or your loved ones have any questions about mental health, please visit us at www.samhin.org for a wealth of mental health related resources. I hope we will get through this pandemic in a healthy way, and we all can do it as we have done it in the past. Be resilient, be safe. Thank you.